Your club, Chelsea, at Stamford Bridge against Crystal Palace. You're not going?
No, I'm working for it. But I think I'm really concerned. You know, the fact that Palace have been struggling lately, it feels like a trip to Stamford Bridge could be the exact tonic that they need. It doesn't fill me with joy. Yeah, it really doesn't fill me with joy. But I mean, it's one of those fixtures where we just have to win. Yeah. You know, a lot of the time, Madge, I'll kind of focus on what's the culture of the club like? Are we seeing the club moving in the right direction? Is there a template in place from the manager? Are the players adopting the ethos and ideology of a particular manager? And other games, it's just, I don't really care about any of the above. Just win. Yeah. Win the game, 3 points, nothing matters. I don't care if it's a really dodgy goal in the 90th minute, but Chelsea get the 3 points. This really is last chance for Chelsea to get anything out of this sorry season. I mean, it has been a dreadful season for us. And I don't think anything can change that. Maybe if we have some League Cup success, if we're fortunate enough for Liverpool to drop out of it somehow in the other semi-final, if we could win a trophy, perhaps it would change the colour of this terrible season. But I'm not harbouring any dreams of making it into Europe via the Premier League positions. But if we are, some Chelsea fans are still dreaming of, I don't know, even making the Champions League if we can put a run together. Wow. I'm not. I don't think it's possible at all. But if it is to be possible, a victory today is essential. In fact, a victory in the next 2 games is essential.
Crystal Palace's form going into this game, no good at all. Last 5 games, drawn 3, lost 2. But, you know, draws at the Etihad are in that. Could say that they were unlucky against Liverpool.
Yeah, I mean, look, Crystal Palace certainly have the ability to cause Chelsea problems. When you think about where Palace are potent, I think it coincides perfectly with where Chelsea are weak. You know, I think in Elise they have like a genuine superstar, and I think it's a real shame. I was desperate. I'm not ashamed for him necessarily. Signing for Chelsea may not be the best thing for his career, but obviously my loyalties and priority is Chelsea, and I think it's a real shame that Chelsea weren't able to sign Michael Elise. I mean, in one way it may have benefited us because I don't think we would have signed both Elise and Cole Palmer, who has been sensational for us. But I think Elise is a real danger. And they are capable, and I think they won at Stamford Bridge fairly recently. But apart from that, I don't think they've won there since sort of Right and Bright.
Really?
Yeah. So it's a worry. And obviously within that period, we've won the league. You know, we beat them towards the end of the season, and we won the league against them. Hazard scored a rebound from a penalty. So I am nervous, but ultimately Chelsea just have to win this game.
It's very stop-start for you and Poch. It seems like, you know, you'll get a win, a decent win, and then all of a sudden, like the 4-4 draw, you think, okay, you're going to go on from something with Manchester City, especially after the way you beat Spurs. Then you lose 4-1 to Newcastle.
No, that was the moment. For me, our season, for me, ended at St James's Park. Prior to the international break, we got 2 really good results. We drew 4-4 with Manchester City, which I think is an impressive result.
Definitely.
And obviously, we battered Tottenham at White Hart Lane. Those 2 things combined...
I don't think you battered us at White Hart Lane. We went down to 9 men.
What was the score?
It was 2-1
I'd say if there's a 3-goal gap, it's a battering. I can legitimately use the term battering.
You've got to have context.
3-goal gap.
Not having it. I'm sticking up for us.
3-goal gap equals battering. That's the rule.
It was 1-1 until the 75th minute.
3-goal gap, battering.
75th minute, 1-0. It wasn't a battering.
Right.
It was an anomaly.
We beat Tottenham.
You beat Spurs. I'm not having it.
We beat Tottenham and we got a credible draw against Manchester City.
It would have been 2-1, 90 plus 4 and 90 plus 7. We had 9 men.
Totally unjustifiably, I managed to convince myself that we were onto something, that we were moving in the right direction. The 2 results combined.
I thought you were.
And then obviously off the back of the international break, we went to St James's Park and we were back to square one. They battered us. In every possible metric, they battered us at St James's Park.
Then you come back, you beat Brighton. It's a good result.
It's a good result. But our home form is so shoddy. Like, our home form is all over the place. I think we've won 3 games at home all season. And if you look at the teams that we've beaten at home, we've beaten Sheffield United, Brighton and Luton. They're the 3 games that we've won at home. So anybody can come to Stamford Bridge and win, as we have seen with the likes of Crystal Palace is tonight, but as we've seen with the likes of Brentford turning up to Stamford Bridge and winning. Nottingham Forest, who really do, up until recently at least, struggle to win away from home. Forest turn up at Stamford Bridge. They beat us. Aston Villa turn up at Stamford Bridge. They beat us. We are vulnerable at home. So Palace turning up tonight, whilst at least on paper, it's a tricky fixture for them. I think if you're a Palace fan, you'd be looking at this fixture feeling fairly optimistic.
Well, Crystal Palace's current run of 11 consecutive league defeats against Chelsea is their longest against any opponent in the club's history. That doesn't bode well because that means they'll break that tonight.
I know it does feel. You know, when you read those records. I remember when obviously Tottenham went a long time without beating Chelsea at White Hart Lane. Every year you're going into it, you're thinking this is the year, then, isn't it? It's due.
Well, none of the 24 most recent Premier League meetings have been a draw either. Chelsea are hopeful that Moses Caicedo will recover from illness in time to face Crystal Palace. Sterling and Cole Palmer are suspended, while Enzo Fernandez and Chukwu are injured.
Sterling and Palmer out is huge as well.
Yeah.
Real shame. Because Cole Palmer has undoubtedly been the best signing that Chelsea have made in this new Clear Lake Todd Boehly era. Like, he has been magnificent. Like, you know, when we signed Cole Palmer, I'm not sure how people felt, because at Chelsea, I don't even think he was our first choice. We wanted Elise. Do you remember Chelsea were pursuing Elise? Elise basically told us that he didn't want to sign for us. We then, weirdly, were chasing, I think, Emile Smith-Rowe, again, who didn't fancy it. And on some level, we ended up with Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer has been a revelation. He's our best player by a mile. He's our most creative, our best on the ball. He's a great threat for a goal. And him not playing really does nullify us. And you combine that then with Raheem Sterling not playing, who is our other best player this season in an offensive capacity. And realistically, I just don't see where our threat comes from. It's troubling.
That's that.
But like I say, this is the fixture where nothing aside from victory matters. It doesn't matter about patterns of play. The XG stats are irrelevant. Chelsea must beat Palace tonight. For the season to have even the semblance, even for us to pretend that Chelsea can have any sort of impact and significance this season, Chelsea must beat Palace.
Well, Crystal Palace now sat at 15th in the league, same games played as Luton. Only 3 points between them and Luton. As you say, getting drawn into that relegation
Well,
battle.
that was the moment as well when I think it changed for Crystal Palace. You know, when they went to Kenilworth Road and got beat?
Yeah.
You know, Elise scored a gorgeous goal that ultimately counted for nothing. You can't lose at Luton. You know, particularly if you're down there, particularly if you're Crystal Palace, who are going to be flirting at least with relegation. Losing to Luton was, I think, the moment where a lot of people suddenly went, are Palace part of this relegation conversation? And I think they are. So they'll be desperate for points for their own reasons. But if they do get them, suddenly, you know, you've got Chelsea currently sitting on 22 points. You've got Crystal Palace currently sitting on 18. If Palace win, are we then talking about Chelsea being in a similar conversation?
Wow. What? Relegation?
There'll be a point between the clubs. There'll be a point between the clubs if Palace win.
That is incredible.
Terrible, isn't it? I mean, it's true. Like, I don't think this is particularly hyperbolic, but I think it's fair to say that Todd Boehly and Clear Lake taking over at Chelsea, it's literally the worst thing to have ever happened to Chelsea Football Club in the history of the club. I don't think anything worse has ever happened to Chelsea apart from Todd Boehly. Like, it's clearly the worst thing to have ever happened to the club.
It doesn't look good right now.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.